I believe we are now live, and it looks like there's already 10 people in here. Welcome, everyone. Just figured it'd be fun to run some trains. I was trying to make a new video today on working on one of my British locomotives. That didn't go so well. I might go into detail on that later, but for now, I think we'll just run some various pieces of equipment. Let's see, I've already got one comment here. Second request, please run the TGV train. Well, I've got great news for you, my friend. We've already got it out on the layout. Eventually, we'll probably bring out the BNSF freighter as well, but we'll see what people want, and we'll just go with that. I'll send it to live chat here, so hopefully don't miss any messages, which there actually already is quite a few. Cedar Point, welcome to the live stream. Tech Boy, hello. Jojo, welcome. 5-star, hello. Roblox and Trains, welcome. Madison Sweeney. Second request is for the Conrail DCC locomotive with the intermodal cars. I think we can probably make that happen. Trainman 1993, hello. Greetings from Syracuse, welcome. Could you run the cab forward? Yeah, we haven't run that in a while. Maybe it's time. Do you own any Ontario Northland? If so, I want to see it. I do have an Ontario Northland locomotive. I don't know if you're going to be very impressed by it, but it still counts. Let's go find it here. Good grief, where was it at? I thought it was on this shelf, yeah. And right there is my Lifelike Ontario Northland engine. I got a caboose for this recently, I believe, too, so we'll put that in the queue to be run. Also grab the Conrail and cab forward engine while I'm at it. Mike's Music, what's up, SMT? Oh, not a whole lot. Just running some various trains. Can you run a CN Tier 4 locomotive? I don't know what that is. Do you have a Hershey's train? I do. Got a couple. Got 2 switchers and 2 locomotives. Can you run the Yellowstone? Yellowstone was unfortunately broke in the previous live stream. I put a little too much strain on the drive and one of the gears spun, so I'll have to fix that. Very easily fixable, but it's going to take a minute. Howdy from Texas. Hello. Any Norfolk Southern? I've got a Norfolk Southern SD40-2. Jack, SMT, do you want to run some trains on my layout later? I wish I could. Your layout looks pretty awesome. Run the big boy. Probably do that. How's the rest of your locomotives and that BNSF SD or EMD SD70 Mac? It looks amazing. Plus, how's the layout doing for the kid? The layout's doing good. I haven't made any progress on it recently. I'm just going to get some supplies for it, but I'm reckoning that some of these buildings are going to go into it, so that's great. We already have some stuff to put on here. But tomorrow is the OVA flea market, and I'm so excited for that because that's usually where all the deals are at. So I'm going to try to find supplies for this layout and see what else they have. There's usually some pretty cool stuff. So if you're in the Ottawa area, definitely stop by the flea market. It's always awesome. Cedar Point, I just bought a River Rossi Berkshire in running condition for $20. Might be the deal of a century. Wow, that's pretty good. Those things usually go for at least 50 bucks. Jack, I'll show you later. Okay, I'm excited to see what that's about. Hello from Maryland. Can you run some Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe steam locomotives? I feel like I have at least one. I'm not sure which, though. Your stream name is broken. Please make a video on all the flea market trains. Oh, there's definitely going to be a video about that. I've been saving up for a while to go. This comes around usually once a year. They used to do twice a year, so basically there's double the amount of stuff. So I've been saving up, and tomorrow I'm going to be on the hunt for some good deals. I want to get there really early. My friend Nick is also going to be running a table, so I might give away some stuff. I might sell a few things that I've bought in the past. So I think it's going to be a fun time. Hello and greetings from Sweden. I really like your videos, and it's always fun to see them. Thank you. Do HO trains work on Hornby track? I think they do, yeah. It's hard to say because older Hornby trains are 00 scale, which is slightly different from HO, but I don't think there's a problem with cross compatibility. How's Nerf Kitty? Nerf Kitty's doing pretty well. Timmerman765, the reason that Reading Locomotive is not working, I took it apart and cleaned the commutator, but crushed one of the brushes. Oh, that's unfortunate. It's probably an easy replacement, though. Is this the 80,000 subscriber live stream? I don't think so. We're still a ways off, but the channel is getting very close. I think it's within about 150 subscribers of reaching 80,000, which... it's just unbelievable. I'm really amazed by that. Just gonna open my computer. Just want to check on the name. Somebody was mentioning that the live stream name was a little off, so I'm just gonna have a look for that. What will you do for 100,000 subscribers? I don't really have a plan. I mean, I don't know if the channel is ever gonna reach such a point, but if it did, I don't know. I'd have to come up with something. Check in on this live stream here. I think it's okay. When can you rail fan? I don't know. Quebec and Gatineau Railway only has one train a week. Do you watch Jim Zim? I have seen Jim Zim's videos in the past. I like his content. It's a little bit different from what most people are doing in the community. I think it's maybe targeted at a younger audience, but he seems like a really nice guy. What's your favorite YouTube channel? Outside of the train community, it's probably No Nonsense Know-How. It's a bit of a smaller automotive channel, and I really like his content because he works on old cars and boats. I wish he worked on model trains, then that would be like the best channel ever, but still pretty good. As far as train channels go, one I've really been enjoying is DC Forever. I'm not sure if he's watching the live stream right now, but he works with a lot of older HO scale locomotives, which is something that I'm quite into, so I enjoy his content. Anyways, I think we'll change things up a little bit here. We'll get the BNSF intermodal train out here on the main line, and then we'll run some of the equipment which has been requested. I don't see why your channel couldn't hit 100,000 subscribers. Well, I just never want to take anything for granted. I don't think it's impossible, but yeah, I just don't know. I like No Nonsense Know-How content as well. Yeah, it's really nice. It's just very, very light and enjoyable. I like how everything is not overly edited. Hey, Trackside Mike. Hey, SMT, are you coming out to Railfan this year with the GVO crew in Smith Falls? I haven't heard anything about that, but yeah, if I'm invited, that sounds like a lot of fun. Timmerman765, thank you so much for the super chat. I will see if I can send you some more stuff soon. Well, I really appreciate that. What's your favorite HO scale locomotive? Probably my Swedish E2 locomotive, which is parked right there. If not that, it's easily the Hiawatha. Thoughts on Broadway Limited Imports? They seem like a decent manufacturer. I think that their stuff has good detail. In terms of quality, I think that they're okay, but I haven't had any bad experiences with them, but I've heard a lot of people have issues with their stuff. That BNSF looks like it's waiting for clearance out on the main line. It kind of is, I guess. Hello, SMT Mainline. Thank you for getting me into the hobby. Could you please run the Via Rail train? we could run a via. There's a few more trains waiting in the queue, which we'll run first, but I don't see why not. Any tips for a small layout? I would suggest having sections of elevated track, because then you're basically creating more area than there is, if that makes sense. Like if two tracks are over top of each other, you're doubling the amount of track in the same amount of space. So it's a very good way to maximize space. I believe September is the long weekend. Keep you posted about the barbecue trackside. I think I saw the video of you guys having that barbecue at the train yard in Smith Falls last year. That seemed like the coolest thing, having a barbecue at a train yard. I mean, how many people can say they've done that? I mean, me and my friends did order pizza to a train yard. That was pretty funny, but that's about the most wild thing we've ordered up at a train yard. Any thoughts on G-scale? I mean, I think you need to have a fair amount of space and money to have it, but it's got to be pretty cool, especially since, you know, if you've got a green thumb and you're into gardening, you can combine your gardening hobby with your model railroading hobby, and I think that that's pretty cool. SMT Mainline, I'm a big fan of Sam's Trains YouTube channel, mostly British stuff, but I think you like his content. I've been watching Sam's Trains for probably 7 years. It's pretty good stuff. That was the best rail fanning I've ever done. Sounds awesome. Do you have any giveaway locomotives? Not at the moment, but there's probably going to be another giveaway soon. I still got that big boy to give away, but somebody is apparently sending a tender, so if that shows up, that giveaway will be soon. Because in that video, I never actually got a tender for that locomotive. The one that came with it didn't fit, so we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I don't know. If there's some good deals at the OVR or flea market, I might end up doing a giveaway. I also ordered a massive lot of stuff from Facebook Marketplace, so I might have to go through that too. Looks like we've got another super chat. This one is from Timmerman again. By the way, if you go into Amory, Mississippi, visit the Frisco Park, there's a retired Frisco 482 mountain locomotive. It's a massive engine. Well, if I'm ever in that area, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you for the super chat. Hey SMT, good to see you again. Can you run your American Flyer Hudson? I don't think I have that locomotive anymore because I'm pretty sure it was when I was restoring for controller Packers. How long have you had your layout? I've had this layout since 2007. I was, I think, around 5 years old when I got my first train set, and the layout was built a few months after that. Trainman 1993, be patient. Harrison can't read all your comments at the same time. Yeah, I'm sorry if anybody's comments are getting missed. I'm trying to read through them all as quick as possible, but between running the trains and reading the comments, it can be a bit tricky to keep up. What's the best oil for locomotives? I use LaBelle products. I haven't used a lot of other products, so I can't really say how it compares. Stuff's a little bit expensive, but I've never been disappointed. And one bottle goes a long way. Like, you know, I usually have to buy one bottle of oil, like, every 2 or 3 years, and I bought a bottle of grease. I've had the same one for 5 years. So, you know, you spend, you know, $10 one day, but then if it lasts you 5 years, it's really not that bad. And, you know, I'm restoring a locomotive probably at least once a week, so it shows you how much you'd be going through. I live in Ontario. The main railroad's Ontario Northland. Wondering if they make models. There's definitely some Ontario Northland stuff, I believe from Rapido, but I think some other manufacturers make that. Go Via or Go Home sometimes stops by here. He's big into Ontario Northland, so if he stops by, ask him, because he has a lot of knowledge on that stuff, and I'm sure could tell you where to get the best ones. What's your opinion on the Walters GP15, and can you run the CSX GP15? I think it's a really good locomotive for the money. It doesn't have very good pulling capacity, but in terms of quality, it hasn't let me down yet. And I also got a Walters Trainline locomotive back in 2006. It was part of, you know, the first engines I ever have, and that engine's been a tank. It's just never given me any trouble. So, you know, it's not going to be the most realistic. It's not going to be the best puller, but if you just want a basic, decent locomotive that you don't have to work on, I think they're pretty good. Somebody called LaserJet joined in. I don't know if that's the LaserJet, but welcome to the live stream. Nick the Train Nerd, Rapido, Bowser, Athearn, and Atlas Roco have made ONR models off the top of my head. Thanks for sharing, Nick. It looks like another super chat has come in. Let me try to find that. Bugs Plus. I'm not sure what to say. Well, that's a ridiculously generous super chat. Thanks a bunch. I wish there was a train I could run or something, but yeah, very generous. Thank you. What's the best brand in terms of running? I don't know. All modern brands run pretty well. In terms of reliability, I would probably say it might be Athearn or Atlas. Kato engines are solid too. I don't think those would ever fail you. Bachmann's can be a bit of a mixed bag, but other than that, I don't really think that there's a bad one. They're all kind of expensive, though. That's the only catch. Anyways, I think we'll change things up a bit here. We'll get the Conrail locomotive going. Hopefully that won't have the same derailment problems that it was having in the previous live stream. And, yeah, we'll get some stuff out on the main line here. I am the real LaserJet, my friend. Nice to see your model railway, sir. Oh, thanks a bunch. I like LaserJet's videos. Mostly, well, there's some model railroading stuff on your channel, but the train simulator videos are very cool. Can we have a look at the Waffle House? Absolutely. I actually built that out of a HO scale house I had, or I think it was a train station. It was in horrible condition, though, so I just modified it a bit and added a Waffle House to the layout. A fine dining establishment for this layout, I think. Could you run the T1? Well, there's some other ones, but I'll have to run first. But at some point, we can certainly run that. I'm going to get the Conrail on right now so we can get a bit of a move on. Do you have any locomotives from British Columbia? Yes, I've got possibly a -9, I might be wrong about that, but I've got a larger BC rail engine, and I've got one of the older ones from Lifelake, although it's in horrible condition, so it's not exactly a good example of one. Hey SMT, can you run an HO scale locomotive on the old track, because I want to know an hour on old track? I'm sorry, I don't understand the comment. I think maybe it's somebody asking if I could run stuff on the old layout. We could probably get something on there. We'll get this sorted out first, though. Of course, this has to go through its whole startup procedure. It's fired up, but it's not moving. Maybe this engine can't run on DC, I don't know. Increase the throttle power. Let's see. That's full voltage there. That's weird. I didn't think that was I didn't think that would have a problem. I guess we could try throwing it in reverse, but it's probably just gonna go through the whole procedure again. Sounds like me, fired up but not moving. Okay, let's try giving this thing DCC. I hope it still works. I didn't break it somehow. I'm not gonna bore everybody trying to start this thing up a million times, though. This That'll be the last one. Let's see, 2572. Oh yeah, there we go. I'm not used to these modern fancy locomotives. They require a little more patience than a lot of the older stuff. Hey Harrison, I recently got two of my favorite locomotives, a Norfolk Southern 8025 and a Norfolk Southern OCS locomotive. Oh, congratulations. Hey SMT, this week I picked up an old Athearn Blue Box Union Pacific switcher for $15 at an antique store, and it runs great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. $15 is pretty good for a blue box, and I'm not surprised that it didn't have problems. Those Athearns are so tough. Which is better, DC or DCC? I personally prefer DC, but that's not to knock DCC. I mean, there are so many advantages to DCC, including, you know, being able to run trains separately without having to install electrical blocks. I can't imagine trying to operate a club layout on DC power. It must have been very complicated before DCC was common. I only have two DCC locomotives, and it's the Lionel Polar Express and the Cajun Pass, which are literally the same things recolored and have different sounds. SMT, do you do DCC installations? How do you determine current draw so you don't destroy the controller? I want to install an ESU lock sound in an Athearn Blue Box. I'm not sure if that will work. I've done installations on Athearns before. Usually their motors are in spec because basically you want to be drawing about 1/4 of an amp. So just as long as it's lower than that, the decoder should be able to handle it. On my layout, that's very easy because my DC controller has an amp draw, but I'm pretty sure you can do a similar test with a voltmeter. I wish I could tell you how, but I just don't know. But if you service the motor, it will probably be within spec. Somebody's asking me to blow the horn. There we go. My club layout uses DC, but it's simple as there's only 4 loops. Well, I guess that's one way to do it. I was more thinking with one main line. A lot of the train clubs I've been to, they usually only have 1 or 2 mainline tracks. It's very rare to see more than that. You run a CSX locomotive? Yes, we'll run that. I don't know. What should we set up next? This thing is running great. This was having a lot of issues before, but seems to be doing pretty well. Somebody's asking that I get the train on the inner loop going, so there it is. Maybe we'll try getting the Ontario Northland locomotives on the mountain layout. Would you suggest joining a model train club? I would join one if there's one in your area. I find the experience can be very different though. All clubs have very different management. Some are more strict than others. So, it really depends on what you're doing. Like, there's one train club I'm part of, and you actually have to go through a initiation where they teach you how to run trains on the layout and kind of proper operating procedures. But I'm part of another train club where basically you show up with some trains, and just as long as you're not interfering with anybody else, you can kind of do whatever you want. I'm personally a fan of the ones that are really easygoing, but for people who like op sessions and things like that, I can understand why having everybody educated would be beneficial. Anyways, we'll try to get this lifelike going here. I don't know if this is going to work because my controller was having some issues with DC locomotives. And it still is. Yeah, I'm going to have to do another factory reset. SMT, I recently spent $465 on an Precision 44 class, but I don't have a DCC controller. What would you recommend? I don't have any recommendations for DCC controllers just because I haven't used enough to compare them all to each other. I do use a DCS51. It's been a fine controller. All I'm saying is that I don't know how it compares to the others on the market. I'm not in, I'm not part of any train club. I hate meeting new people in person, so I think I'd rather stick to my own layout. Yeah, and that's all good. There is something to be said for being able to kind of build things your own way, because there is a lot of kind of club politics, I find, when it comes to adding new things onto a layout. A lot of people have different ideas of how the space should be used, and, you know, the type of controller that powers it all. So it's nice having your own layout and you don't have to worry about that, but nothing stops you from doing both, of course. How long did it take you to build your layout? This has all been in construction since 2007, but a lot of it's been redone, so it's kind of hard to say how much has been used. Hey SMT, I'm trying to get a start on DCC, maybe HO scale. Do you have any advice? If you've got an older layout, upgrade it to nickel silver track because it will work better with DCC. Also, some switches are not compatible with DCC. But that's all I've really got to say. I'm not as knowledgeable on DCC as I am DC, so. Ricky, welcome to the live stream. Have you heard of the Mantua MRC 2662 logger? Apparently they're somewhat rare. I can't say I have heard of that particular engine. Have you ever tried a battery-powered locomotive? I can't say I have. I suspect they're going to become more common, though. Hey, SMT, what are your opinions about Bachmann and Athearn products? Bachmann's a mixed bag. They've severely improved their quality over the last 20 years, but their prices have also gone up a lot, so they're not my favorite manufacturer. As for Athearn, I find they're pretty solid. They're a little pricey too, but their older stuff is terrific. As for their new stuff, I don't find they're very innovative. They're not coming out with, you know, anything too revolutionary, but they're pretty solid. I don't think too many people would be disappointed buying an Athearn locomotive. Anyways, I think we'll change things up again here. I'll try to find the tender for the cab forward, and we'll pull the intermodal train with that, which I think will be fun. I don't know where the tender actually is at the moment. I thought it was back here, but it looks like it's been moved somewhere. So I'm going to have to go find that. Well, I found this tender. We'll see if it works. Please run a big boy locomotive. Well, we're about to run a cab forward, which is the second best thing. I kind of lost control of my train here, so I'll just have to shut it off like that. Can you run a 484? Possibly later. Please note that these videos are horrible. Not love your videos. Please run the Horizon Express. The Horizon Express. Huh, that rings a bell, but I can't place it to a train. remember when you used lead pencils before you switched to fiberglass. What made you change? Any sellers recommended for fiberglass? I don't ever remember using a lead pencil. Huh, I don't know. The fiberglass pencils work pretty well, but honestly, I wouldn't hate finding an alternative to them just because, you know, fiberglass is not excellent for your health. And I did get a fiberglass shard on my finger once. It wasn't fun. So. I wonder if this will actually work. Where do you store your rolling stock? I have a whole bunch of bins on the side of the layout where I keep all of it. Have you ever been to the Blissfield Model Railway Club? I cannot say I have. How many trains do you have in your collection? Best guess. Around 450 locomotives. No, maybe this. Oh no, it does work. Now it's a little bit cursed running a New York Central tender with a Southern Pacific locomotive, but I don't know where I put the Southern Pacific tender. I'm in the process of adding onto my shelves. That way I'll be able to store things a little bit better, which is hopefully going to fix this issue. Do you ever restore rolling stock or passenger cars? All the time. I usually don't make videos about it just because I don't find it as exciting as working on a locomotive because, you know, rolling stock really doesn't require as much. You know, you upgrade some wheels, you upgrade couplers, maybe you balance the weights, but other than that, they're not very particular pieces, whereas, you know, a locomotive can have countless issues, which I always find kind of fun fixing up until it's not. Okay, the coupler height on this is not good. Those are definitely going to disconnect, but we're going to run it anyways. Run the Hershey's locomotive. I'll try to find one of those later. How many broken daylights do you have? I know about the American Freedom Train, but I think there was more. Yeah, I bought a Canadian Pacific GS4. That one's broken. And I also have a conventional daylight, which is also broken. There's another one that's going to be unboxed soon, but I don't have that one at the moment. I saw a comment I wanted to read. Do you recommend using cork roadbed or is it not necessary? Sorry if this has already been asked. I just got in. Well, it depends if you mean in comparison to nothing. I mean, you can lay track directly on Homosote. Trying to lay track on plywood is probably not a very good idea. I also wouldn't recommend trying to lay track directly on styrofoam because it will sink in. In terms of cork and foam roadbed, definitely go with cork. I've used foam roadbed on this section of the layout and I regretted it, so let's go with cork. It costs a little more, but honestly, it's worth it. Welcome, Brian Railfan. Hi, SMT. Have you ever tried any other alloys for wheels other than brass or nickel silver? I don't know if I know any other materials they use to make wheels. Well, actually, the older Atherns use steel wheels, which are okay. Do you recommend buying scenery on eBay? eBay is usually not choice number one for me. I find their prices and the shipping are usually quite high, but it's usually decent. I find eBay does provide pretty good customer protection if you have a problem. I find the sellers on there are usually pretty good. SMT, I have an Athearn locomotive that takes about 3 out of 4 of power to move, and then when it does, it sparks. What do I do to make it run better? I would suggest cleaning the wheels and motor. If not, it could be that the engine is kind of seized, so you might have to disassemble it and re-lubricate it. But those Athearns are not too hard to work on, and it's very rare that they go bad. What's the best part of Canada to visit? I can't say exactly because I've never been to Newfoundland and Labrador. BC is pretty interesting. If you really like beautiful mountains and stuff, you won't be disappointed. Alberta is quite rockin'. I really liked the train stores in Alberta too. So that's all farming country, so that's a cool place to visit. As far as the prairie provinces go, I didn't really see all that much. The fields are beautiful, but that's about it. I like the Ottawa Valley. That's where I live. It's quite pretty around here. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting place ever. I mean, it's government town, but lots of green land around here. I think that's probably our strength. Do you have an Alico 080 by River Rossi? That would probably be a good project considering the engine's power tender is not working and it has disconnected bogies. Also, it sparks when it runs. Sounds like a high current draw issue. Cedar Point. Today I was cleaning an engine and a gear that was about a ½ inch with grease on the side of it. Not even the teeth, so it didn't have a purpose. That's crazy. Weird question, but do you have ketchup flavored potato chips in Canada? I'm pretty sure ketchup chips were invented here. Either here or Pennsylvania. I don't know which, but ketchup chips are very popular in Canada. Canadians have interesting taste, but I can't deny it. The ketchup chips are pretty rockin'. Do you recommend Bachmann Easy Track or Atlas Track? I would go with Atlas. It's cheaper and it's easier to work with, I find. Bachmann Easy Track is good if you're setting something up on the floor. That's about the only benefit I can see to buying it. What would be the best budget locomotive for starting off a layout? Probably the Walters Trainline locomotives. Those are pretty good quality locomotives for the price, in my opinion. Hey SMT, I picked up a $150 locomotive. It's the DT&L SW7 switcher. Do you think that was a good deal for $150? It would depend who it was made by. Ketchup chips were made in Canada. Would love to see the GO train on the track. Could you please run it? Well, somebody was asking me to run a Via train, so maybe we could hook that up to the GO cars and pull that around. I did say I was going to run a Via locomotive earlier. Harrison, thanks for what you do. I repaired 3 Athearn Blue Box locomotives that my father had in the early 1970s. They haven't run since 1978 or so. Me repairing them was the direct result of your repair videos. Well, that's excellent. Hey, SMT, I have a question. Do you fix other people's HO scale trains by any chance? I do local repairs, but I no longer do repairs that involve shipping because I was running into a lot of problems with that. The logistics were just a little too complicated. Can you run the Kool-Aid locomotive? Well, I was already going to run a Via train, so why not that one? Quick question, does the CN train beside the red barn actually run? Yes, this engine does run. We can get that out later, but we'll run the Via first. The Bachmann F7 Santa Fe Flyer has a great low speed. You should check it out. I've had it for 4 years. It still runs like new. It's the best Bachmann I've ever had. Well, I'm happy to hear that. I've got one Bachmann locomotive, my BNSF engine from a starter set, and out of all the Bachmann engines I've had, that one's been pretty good. That and my Bachmann Centennial, both those engines have been pretty solid. Probably the best Bachmann engines I've ever had. Anyway, I'm impressed the Rivarossi didn't have a single coupler issue, so yeah, that went quite well. Now we're going to try to get these freight cars off the main line, and we'll try running some sort of an unusual GO transit / via train. Hey, SMT, love the channel. I discovered it back in 2020 during you know what. Do you know about the the 2020 fiasco, sorry. Your videos always interested me, and you've inspired me to start my own model railroad. Well, that's fantastic. It's a terrific hobby to be part of, honestly. It's such a nice thing. You know, when life gets a bit stressful, you can just go down to the layout, run some trains for a while. Takes your mind off of everything. Hey, SMT, one more question. I have some Pico mainline stretchy track. Half of it doesn't work. Is it broken, or is there a way to fix them? If you're talking about flex track, sometimes it can get brittle. It's in like a warm environment for too long, so it might not be any good anymore. I don't know. Pico usually makes pretty high quality track, though. I'd be surprised if it failed. Anyway, here are our GO transit cars. Horizon Express Orange, please run it. Oh, that one, yeah. We could try to run it. I think I found the cars for that. I was trying to figure out why all the bi-levels derailed. I just realized I had left the switch open. Yesterday I got a box of 91 pieces of rolling stock from a very generous gentleman. That's good to hear. Once in a while, you can be the right place at the right time and really snap up a deal. I remember years ago, my friends, I don't know, their cousins were at a garage sale, and they found this lot of trains and decided to buy it for them. Anyways, it basically turned out to be a bunch of junk, and they couldn't make any use of it because all the engines were broken. So they ended up giving that away to me, and I can tell you as a kid, I was beside myself. What a great thing. I got to go through. There were buildings, rolling stock. I was able to get all the engines going again. But what was nice out of that is I had some leftover easy track and some spare locomotives, so I was actually able to give them a train set back. So it was great. I got all these junky locomotives, which I was able to fix up and actually turn into decent engines, and they got a working train set. All right, let's see how well this works. Your stream title says time to some trains on the layout. Okay. Somebody was telling me I'd made a mistake in the title. I didn't notice it. I'm dyslexic, so I sometimes make typos. I should go on and fix that. These bi-level cars are having coupler issues again. Could you run the GG one? Yeah, we could get one of those out later. I'm gonna run this one first, though. Darn it. I was at an antique shop called Recycling Retro today in Maine, and they had a really old locomotive that seemed to be O or G scale. It had to be pre-war. It was so cool. That sounds like something exciting. If they were selling it for a decent price, I'd say snap it up. I don't know if the coupler is broken on this bi-level car, but this does not seem to be working that well. Give it one more chance here. If not, we'll maybe try to run it with an actual GO locomotive. Most of the cars in the free box needed some work, but they are rare pieces. I mean, you know, nothing's truly free, right? So if people are giving stuff away, it's usually not mint. But, you know, if you're a person who's willing to put some effort into stuff, it can always make for a fun project. Anyways, we'll try to see if the Go locomotive works with these cars. If not, I think we'll just park them and take something else out. Do you have any FEC locomotives? I don't think I do. The engine was selling for $200. I don't believe I have that on me. And I also don't have the right track for it, so I'd let you know to see if you wanted it. Well, I don't know exactly in Maine where Retro Recycling Depot is, but I'll have to have a look. If it's near Kennebunkport, maybe I'll make my way up there next time I'm out in Maine. It's too bad it doesn't link well because the Go train looks beautiful. The bi-level cars are fantastic. I think these are one of the best passenger car sets Athearn's ever made. They go for quite a bit of money too. They're somewhat rare. I unknowingly got them as a kid when they were a lot cheaper. Anyways, I'll see if I can get this whole live stream thing sorted out. Alright, I think the title is fixed. Haven't been on the channel in a while. Well, welcome back. Recycling Retro is near Bath Iron Works. Funny thing is, I've never seen the store. I wouldn't have seen the store if I didn't go to DQ for lunch. Alright, so a lot of people are requesting that I run a Hershey's locomotive, so I guess we'll look for one of the switchers and maybe we'll try to run it on the mountain layout. That might be fun. Title says time to run some. Refresh your page, I just updated it. What's your rarest engine? Also, I thought you were running the TGV. The TGV will come later. I just have to get the cars out for it. Oh, let's go this way. The rarest locomotive I have, I believe, is the Hiawatha. Do you like RBP trains? I think he's the guy who's usually running O-scale stuff. I think I've seen a few of his videos. Seems like a pretty good channel. Harrison, I've been watching you since 10K. Wow. I'm amazed how well this four-wheel locomotive is doing on the mountain layout. Sometimes you just got to run the old DC stuff with old brass track. It seems to handle it pretty well once it, just as long as you have enough voltage in it, it seems to work pretty well. Some teas, the power always on your mountain layout. Yep, it's hooked into the main line, so whatever is being put in the track here is also being added to that. Another place in Maine I'd like to get to is Maine Model Works. I'm not sure if you've been there or not, but they have a great selection. I have been to Maine Model Works. I actually did a video of their place in 2021. Excellent store. The people were really nice. Their prices were good. Their selection was terrific. So yeah, out of all the stores I've been to in Maine, that's probably number one. SMT, what's your opinion about Sam's trains? I think he's got a pretty good channel. His editing is not exactly my taste, but it gives pretty good advice to people, and his content's quite professional. So I like his channel. Anyways, we're just gonna go quickly get the other cars for the GO train, and we'll see if we can get that going. Alright, I think I found the correct cars. Do you have any Camelback models? I have at least one, yeah. Besides Maine Model Works, do you recommend any other good hobby shops in Maine? There used to be a place called the Train and Slot Car Shop. I don't think they're in business anymore. That used to be a decent place, but yeah, I'm not aware of any others. I'm willing to check more out if they're getting close to Kennebunk. Have you ever watched Pap's Train Show on YouTube? He has an unreal layout. That name rings a bell. Yeah, I feel like I have seen at least one of his videos. Hi, SMT. What's the best way to start a model railway? I want to make one of my own. I would say figure out how much space you have, figure out what your budget is, and then sky's the limit. Make a list of everything you want, and you can edit things off based on, again, space and budget. But yeah, get inspiration from whatever you can, and then yeah, just start building it. You know, planning's important. I don't want to put planning down. You know, if you want to build something that you want and you don't put any planning into it, you're probably going to end up with something you're not very happy with. But one thing that I find happens to people is they get so caught up in the planning phase that they never end up building anything. So you have to decide at some point where the planning stops and, you know, the actual construction begins. Because sometimes the best way to figure out things is just to set them up, see if they work, and change them if they don't. I've built all sorts of things on this layout which have been temporary. SMT, you should add the song The Entertainer at the beginning of your video. Like The Entertainer by Billy Joel. I mean, it's a good song, I just don't understand why it would go in the front of my videos. What's the favorite part of your layout? At this point, I think it's this section right here. It's all brand new, and I'm very happy with how it's looking. Been watching your videos for a few months. Came across this live across the river from you in K-Town. Started an N scale and HO scale. So thank you for the videos. Looking forward to more uploads. Thanks. Eating ice cream, building a train, and watching SMT Mainline. Life is good. Well, what a time. Anyways, I guess we'll get this GO train off the main line and then get that high-speed train on. Sparky, welcome to the live stream. Hey, SMT, there's a really cool short line near my house. It's called the Pickens Railway, and they have the last U18B locomotive in revenue service. Also, what happened to Nerf Cat? Nothing happened to Nerf Cat. He's still doing well. He was in questionable health a couple months ago. I honestly didn't think he was going to make it, but old guy's still around. What happened to the holiday speeder? I don't think anything did. I don't know. Maybe the video got taken down. I've been having this problem on some of my older videos where I downloaded music from artists who claimed it was royalty free and it wasn't. So I went and I added that to a whole bunch of my videos, and now the copyright holders are coming back and claiming them. So it's possible that that happened to that video. What's your favorite locomotive? Sorry, my caps lock is stuck. Probably my Swedish E2 locomotive or the Hiawatha here. Hobby shops in Maine. Yarmouth. There's a shop in Yarmouth, Maine called Maine Model Works. It's funny, we were just talking about them earlier, actually. Yeah, sometimes artists who claim music is royalty free are lying. I can't tell if it's people just not caring or if the artists want people to think that they can use their music. That way they spread it around and then get to claim the revenue. Because when an artist claims content, they collect all the revenue. So if you have a video with, you know, let's say 1 million views, they'll get to take all of that. I really hope that that's not the case, but I don't know. You never know what angle people are coming at things with sometimes. Anyway, I think we'll... that all together. Can you run the Centennial Canadiana? Could probably do that. Why are there various brands on the wall behind your layout? I had a whole bunch of boxes in storage. All they were doing was collecting dust, and I really like the artwork, so I decided just to kind of attach them all to make some sort of a piece, make that wall exciting. And also, you know, sometimes when I'm showing friends who are not into trains the layout, it can be kind of interesting to show them like what packaging used to look like for a lot of the older sets. All right, let's see if this thing will start. Doesn't even hesitate. When I first rebuilt this engine, it was having some problems seizing, so I'm glad to see it started on the first try. Sounds like we've got a bit of a derailment. We'll see if the switcher rails it. Nope. I think the derailment's getting worse. The owners of the slot car and train shop in York, Maine have retired. You might run into them as a vendor at some train shows, but that's all you'll see. M&M Rails, do you still have the Reebok box by any chance? Yeah, it's still available if you want it. I'm going to be at the train show tomorrow, Mark, so if you want it, it's all yours. What camera do you use for all your videos? An iPhone 11 Pro. It's not the most professional thing in the world, but, you know, it gets the job done. SMT, is it possible to have a model railroad that goes onto the wall of a room? You would have to be very good about gluing everything down, but yeah, I think you could probably build some sort of a layout that could be placed sideways. He said $300. Hey SMT, before I leave, can you run the green GG1 that mysteriously came back to life? Yeah. Mark says, it's a vintage Reebok box. I can store my models in there. It is kind of a cool box. It has like the Union Jack on it and everything. Now, green GG1, here it is. Our train club had a huge sale today. Only one thing cost a penny. I may as well just give it away at that point. I went to a train show at the Bangkok train station. After you run your TGV, can you run one of those German locomotives with the green passenger cars? German locomotive with green passenger cars. Oh, maybe you're talking about the Swedish engine. It does look kind of similar to some German engines. We can definitely get that out. I only have 2 working cars at the moment since the couplers have kind of gotten destroyed, but I don't see why we can't run that. Could you run your Amtrak GG1 if you still have it? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's time to get a whole fleet of them out on the main line. I don't know if they're speed matched. They should be, but I don't know. We'll get this one going, and then I'll see if we can get the Amtrak one running as well. This thing doesn't seem to be running too well. Well, it's not half bad, I guess. So we'll let that zip around the layout and see if we can get the Amtrak one going too. This locomotive, I believe, was involved in a flood. The motor was completely corroded and seized. I didn't think I'd be able to get it going again, so as a ditch effort, I dipped the motor in not rubbing alcohol, but vinegar. And the vinegar actually was able to eat away the corrosion without destroying the windings. So I kind of saved that engine, but, you know, as you'd imagine, it still does not run perfectly. So we'll see how this goes. I meant the German electric locomotive. Oh, yeah, the orange one. I'll have to have a look for that. I don't know where it is. All right, we'll see if this flood locomotive starts. Haha, fires right up. River Rossi would be proud. Yeah, funny enough, they are pretty much running identical speeds, even though that one's in far worse condition. So I guess we can call that a win. Go have a look for that Roco nerd. Roco locomotive. Sorry, somebody wrote nerd in the comments and I read it out. Alright, I found the Roco locomotive. Okay, unfortunately the German engine's a little bit slower than the GG1s, so in the spirit of not causing an accident, see, what I think would be nice is if we set this up here. smaller than that too. What's the best place to find Mark's open frame motors for O-scale? I have no idea, to be honest with you. The truth is, it's very rare that I order parts for things. Most of the time, it's either kind of craft something together, MacGyver something together, or just take parts off another engine, which is beyond repair. Any Pico trains? That German engine might have been sold as a Pico, but I think it was made by Roco, so I don't know. Can you run a Lifelike Santa Fe? Yeah, sure. Do you have the Australian V-Line locomotive? Yep. B-Class is right there. See if I can find one of those Santa Fe engines. I know I've got at least one back here. There we are. I think this is one from one of my eBay hauls. Idea for the next train movie, the Illinois Southern GP9 from the Epic Bus Crash and Fugitive. I haven't seen that movie, but I think I did see that scene. That one USRA 282, thank you so much for the super chat. Do you still have your Roundhouse 280 kit you built in the video? And if so, can you run it? Yep. Wow, this thing is not doing so well. Well, I don't know what happened. This was running fine before, but it seems to be having issues now, so I guess we'll just put that back on the shelf. See if I can find that kit-built locomotive. I believe it's in storage here. Problem is they all kind of blend in with each other, so it might be right in front of me and I'm just blind to it. Let's check this shelf. I definitely didn't get rid of it, I can tell you that, but I don't know where it's at. I really don't know. Run the DDA. The DD40? I'll focus the camera on that while I look for that engine. Oh, here it is. I knew I hadn't got rid of this. GG1's might be having some problems. They've definitely slowed down. Current draw is pretty low, so I'm not too worried about a burnout, but one of those is not running right. So I'll have to lay out those get. Yes, the Centennial. Yeah, we can try to run that. So this right here is a locomotive I got in a kit from somebody, and I built it a couple of years ago. I would not say that I did a perfect job. These kits are kind of sensitive, and you need to be pretty talented to put them together correctly. I don't have that talent, so I got a running locomotive, but I don't think it's quartered right. Well, I don't know. That actually doesn't seem too bad. This is running way better than I remember. Cool trivia, the lead unit of Runaway train was sold to a company in California when Alaska Railroad was done with it and used it again under Siege 2 as the lead locomotive in the movie. Wow, so that engine's pretty famous. Runs pretty well, just a bit squeaky. Yeah, it's doing way... I remember this thing having a stuttering issue, and I was sure that was due to improperly quartered wheels, but I don't know. Maybe it broke in. All right, I think I'll go get the Centennial and we'll take that out for a run around the layout. Yeah, maybe this was the problem. Maybe it was just bad at lower speeds. Yeah, that's it. So it has a bit of a low speed problem, but that's fine. Thanks for running the DD40X. You're a great guy. Oh, no problem. I'll try to hook it up to those intermodal cars. Now, last time this was having some derailment issues. I don't know if that's going to occur again, but we'll try it out here. Sometime soon you should run the Unstoppable Locomotives and the Runaway train together for ultimate chaos. I think we did that in the previous live stream, but yeah, we could try to do that. Have you checked out the original Silver Streak movie? I still have not seen that one, no. DD40s are cool. Yeah, I mean, I think to date they're still the biggest diesel locomotives ever created. It must have been a time to be a rail fan in 1969 when these things were first rolling off the production line. I mean, like, those mammoth locomotives. How old is Nerf Cat? I think he was probably born in around 2007, but I don't exactly know, so he could be younger or older. Got him in the summer of 2009, so certainly not a youngin' anymore. Random request, could you run a CSX locomotive with Amtrak passenger cars? I can run a CSX locomotive, but I don't actually know if I have any Amtrak passenger cars. I was given some in a lot recently, but I haven't assembled those yet. How do you fix a Bachmann locomotive that keeps ticking? Oh, man. You can sometimes, the ticking noise comes from a cracked gear, so sometimes you can glue the gear back together. Most of the time you have to replace them. If you can find a junked Lifelike locomotive, you can usually steal parts off of those, because Lifelike and Bachmann basically use the same drive. Lifelike just used better gears, so it's always a good way to get your old Bachmann engines going. Oliver fell victim to the famous cracked gear. Those engines are so notorious for that problem, it's not even funny. Of course, you could just let it run like that until the gear fails and then replace it at that point. You know, you might still be able to get a few years of use out of it. I've got engines which have been making that ticking noise for like 5 years and they're still going. Hey look, it's everybody's favorite cat. Kitty cat. Yo, Nerf. He's off doing his own thing. Now, I think I said I was going to run the Runaway train. I also said I was going to run a CSX engine. I'll see if I can find that, because we'll probably run a similar speed to the Centennial. SMT, do you think Canada will ever get high-speed rail? I'm kind of skeptical because, I mean, they've been talking about high-speed rail for, oh, I don't know, 20, 30 years. My dad was actually part of the high-speed rail project back in the late 90s, and, you know, they were talking about what kind of train sets they wanted to get and everything, but I don't know. Everybody's all talk but no progress with that. I think it would be a terrific thing for the country if we had high-speed rail. I mean, that's what they did, you know, in America with the Northeast Corridor, but whether or not it's actually going to happen, I'm kind of doubtful. If you bought any Walters mainline locomotives, I have around 8 of them, and they've been pretty good. I think I have a couple of them. Some sort of a derailment happened. What are your thoughts on the MRC Tech 2 controller? To be honest with you, I've never owned one before, but if they're anything in between the Rail Power 1370 and the Tech 3, it's probably a decent controller. I know a lot of people have them, so they must be doing something right. Looking to buy some Kato locomotives. Any issues with them? Not really. Kato engines, you know, if somebody takes, just like anything, if somebody takes really poor care of it or drops it or something, there's always a risk. But Kato engines, in my experience, have been nothing but good, and they have a very good reputation in the community. Both N-scale and HO modelers, I find, usually have nothing bad to say about them, so I wouldn't worry. If I can, I'll send you the O-scale Polar Express. Well, no pressure on that. That's a pretty pricey set. Cat. Well, there he goes. Whoops. We got a bit of a derailment. Oh, we actually got some multi-track drifting. Isn't that nice? That switch doesn't even work, and the locomotive still managed to derail itself. I mean, that's quite impressive. The only thing that's not so good is it looks like the lights have gone out. And they're back. This is the one Bachmann engine I've not been able to brick. This thing's been a tank. I freaking love this thing. It's great. I can't believe I witnessed that. I was sure it was going to derail. Again, those switches are pinned shut right now, so I don't even know how that worked, but somehow. You see, this is the weird thing, too. The switch is pretty much still aligned straight, so I don't know why that happened, but whatever. It's all good. Now we'll set up the 2 Runaway train locomotives, and then we'll get the we'll get the 8 OV. My mind's getting cluttered right now. We'll get the Unstoppable locomotives on, and then we'll get the Runaway train locomotives after that. I have a couple Proto 2000 locomotives. They were the quietest locomotives I've ever had. Proto engines are pretty good. I wouldn't say they're like top of the line, but you know, especially in the 90s, they must have been quite ahead of their time. The only problem with them is the gears, just like Bachmann, sometimes split, but I think that that's generally an issue on their older ones. Have you seen the Tyco giant operating crane accessory? It has a magnet on it so you can load and unload different pieces of freight. I'm pretty sure I did see that. Lionel was making those sorts of things a long time ago too, so pretty cool stuff. Metrolink in California, I got confused. They used the same bi-level coaches. I believe Metro did too for some reason. A lot of railroads across North America used the Bombardier bi-level coaches. They were quite successful. I think they also used them in Texas. All right, we'll see if we can get that going without too many issues, and then if we can, we'll get the Runaway train going. I think that that's already derailed, unfortunately. Yeah, let's try the old backup maneuver. Nope. SMT, question, could you run your SMT 50K boxcar? Yeah, maybe so. Trinity Rail also used Bombardier coaches. I don't know. I feel like any commuter rail in the 90s and 2000s, I feel like that was pretty much the best choice. This is a little off with that dummy engine. I think I should get better wheels for it. Sirens and Railroads of Oklahoma. How's it going, SMT? Not too bad. How are you? We lost our train. Maybe we'll just run the locomotives. I think there'll be less problems that way. The Athearn AC 4400 struggling. Yeah, lost all the traction. Wow. SMT, can you run the German electric locomotive with the silver passenger cars in the cab up front? I know which set you're talking about, but the couplers on those are all broken, so unfortunately they won't work together. Oh, I really don't know why this is having so many problems. What happened? I have no idea. Hey, SMT, could you say that Nerf Cat has become the mascot of the channel? He's definitely the mascot of the channel. I think he has been for a long time. I mean, Nerf Cat is such a big part of this channel that, you know, he's even got his own merchandise line. Good grief. This set is starting to test my patience a little bit, I'll be honest. I'm going to try to set this thing up one more time. If it doesn't work, I'm setting up the Runaway train. This thing isn't really... Well, now this is derailed too. I don't know. I don't understand why these engines are having all these issues. They were not like this when I first bought them. All right, 3 times the charm. Wow. Okay, that's it for 777. Howdy, SMT. How's it going? Not too bad. How are you? Might be time to replace the wheels. It's possible that a couple of derailments maybe put them out of gauge. That can happen sometimes on these Athearns. I'm a lot more suspicious the problems are specifically with the dummy locomotive. Maybe that switch is out of whack. That switch is broken, but most of the other trains were running over it fine, so I think it's more to do with the locomotive. Maybe a combination of the two. SMT, do you have a sister? Yeah, she's been in a couple videos. That's mildly infuriating. God, I can't pronounce words. That's mildly infuriating. Yes, it is. Maybe we'll make first page of Reddit. Now, the Runaway train. Well, we're going to run the real deal. I don't think this is going to have as many derailment problems. Maybe the dummy engine's too light. Well, it doesn't have a motor in it, so it is a little lighter, but it uses the same die-cast frame that all other Athearns use, so I don't know. If I had to make a bet, it would be on the wheels. What would you say are the best new trains, or somewhat new trains for a collector? Older Kato locomotives are pretty good, because most of those I don't think are too old, so they won't let you down. The blue box engines, you know, some of them can be dating back to the 60s, but even though they're 40-year-old locomotives, 50-year-old locomotives, it's very rare that they fail, and even when they do, they're pretty easy to fix. So if you want to buy these old Athearns, I wouldn't hesitate. The original Runaway train movie is actually in ABC TV from 1973 with the Rio Grande's track. Huh. I put one on backwards. Runaway Train is a classic consist for live streams. It's been featured in quite a few, yeah. Hopefully it won't derail like 777 did. I almost want to try to pull the intermodal train with it. I feel like it might actually have the guts to do that. Here, let's see if this clapped out Athearn. Keep in mind, only one of these locomotives is powered. Let's see if it's got the gusto to pull these cars. Because the Dash 9 was not doing so well, surprisingly. Oh, it's struggling. Yeah, it didn't get stuck like 777 did. So that's quite remarkable. Despite having 2 less wheels than the Dash 9, the GP9 seems to be doing, well, pretty similar job actually at pulling these intermodal cars, but still it got further than 777 did. Have you ever been to Tennessee? I can't say I have. Quick question, why do they only do 1 powered engine with a dummy engine instead of 2 powered engines together? It is cheaper, that's number 1. There's not really too many other benefits. Triple seven isn't unstoppable at all. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the people in the movie who were trying to get 777 under control should have just tried to hook up some intermodal cars to it. That would have stopped it. No problem. That Athearn is quite a workhorse. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, again, keep in mind it's having to also haul these engines around, which are not exactly light. The only advantage this locomotive has over the 777 one is when I did my running trains in the snow video, the ice was causing a lot of problems with traction. So what I did was I had a whole bunch of old leaded solder and I cut it up into strands and I packed the shell with that and then covered it in hot glue. So this engine actually has a lot of weight to it. So it's got that one advantage, but it's also got steel wheels, which give a little more traction, but that's all it's got going for it. Do you have any steam engines that produce smoke? Not any working ones. Please run an F40PH. Yeah, we could run one of those. I don't know, maybe we should take this off, run something else. SMT, what's better, Athearn, Genesis, or Broadway Limited? Broadway Limited probably has slightly higher quality in terms of details, but in terms of reliability, my money's on Athearn. I mean, they're not as good maybe as they used to be, but still, at their core, modern Athearns still have a lot of relation to blue box locomotives in terms of how they're designed. It's just more modern. So it's usually, I find, with the modern Athearn engines, the parts that fail are the electronic stuff. So, you know, the decoders and so on. I've heard stories of those failing pretty bad. But the motors, the gearboxes and stuff, as far as I know, they're still pretty solid. With all that lead in the shell, it's basically a slug. Yeah, it's packed with weight. Here, let's see. If we just remove... Let's do it. This is fair. So it's the same now as the 777. It's got one dummy behind it. Let's see how well it does. Yeah, so with the same weight, this engine does have more pulling capacity than 777. So that's kind of cool. Any advice for starting a model railway channel? If you have something that you're particularly good at, like you're really good at scenery or track work or designing or something like that, maybe make that your focus, because you know it's terrific when people can join the YouTube train community and share their skills. I mean, I share a lot of stuff. I also learn a lot of stuff from different people on here. You know, there's a lot of very bright minds which have terrific advice. SMT, do you watch Heiss? I think that's the guy that does videos about some railway museum. I think I've seen some of his stuff. Videos seem pretty good. Does the Durango locomotive run? I just spotted it. Yeah, we could try to run that. Probably does. I try to keep all the locomotives which are on that shelf runners. If they don't run, I have a separate shelf which I store them. Could you run the Intercity 125? Yeah, I think so. I have to find that Durango engine first, though. Where is it at? Okay, I see it. Yeah, that will probably work. Did you know that Marlboro bought 2 locomotives from EMD for an advertisement, but they did not use them? Huh, that's a funny story. I wonder how they were going to incorporate those into a commercial. You promised the T1 earlier. I think I did say I was going to run that. I guess we will. Doesn't start. Oh, there we go. I have one like that, but doing maintenance, I flung its gear across the rim. The motor works, obviously no connection to the wheels. Have you ever considered doing a combined HO/HON 30 layout with a crossover station between them? Oh, I guess we just spun the gear on that locomotive. I mean, it would look a little bit strange because the engines are different scales, but I'm not against buying an ON 30 locomotive. I'd be willing to own, I don't know, maybe one. I mean, it would look ridiculous going around the layout, but it might be a cool thing just to say I have one. Alarms: Marlboro almost ran a real passenger train. It would have been pulled by a pair of F-59 PHIs. What's your opinion on new model trains? I picked one up at my local shop for $25. It works perfectly. It was a $80 train. It depends on the manufacturer. I mean, in terms of maintenance, I find the older stuff is way easier to work on. There's just a lot less inside, so I don't find they'll give you as much trouble in the long run if you have to do work. But most modern locomotives are pretty reliable. I've had some which I've basically never had to do maintenance on. Now we're going to run the T1, and then after that we'll get the Intercity 125 going. Look at all the F units. Yeah, the F units are one of my favorite types. There's a whole bunch back here as well. Okay, I'm going to put the camera down and pick up the T1, otherwise I think I'm going to have something fall off my shelf here. All right, there we go. Run a Spirit of 76. I can try. Got a few I have to get through first, though. Oh man, how's this wiring done? This connector is kind of a pain in the neck. I think we'll just run the engine like this. What radius are your curves? They are 22s. You should make a new running all of my blank locomotive series. Yeah, I haven't done one of those videos in a while. I don't know, it would be a good thing if I did a video running all the locomotives, because then I could go through all the ones which don't work and then actually fix them up. Have you ever seen how trains run down the middle of one of the main streets in LA, George, Kentucky? I don't know about that specific example, but yeah, I have seen street running trains. It's pretty cool. I forget the channel, but there's one guy that actually has a video of a train which ended up running through a town right as they were doing a parade. So they had to stop the parade and let the train go by. But it was funny because it almost became part of the parade. So the drivers, I think, were just loving it, and they were like honking the horns on it, and everybody's cheering. It was a great sight, but it's just hilarious. Looks like we got a short circuit. I think you're talking about Jawtooth. It might have been by Jawtooth. I can't remember, to be honest with all of you. What locomotive do you have that you're most excited to work on? Well, right now I've got this British locomotive on the workbench. It's a Atlantic engine. It's hard to see the pieces are under all these other engines. So I started working on this. Unfortunately, the motor's completely kaput, and I tried to rewind it. It didn't go well. So I'm going to have to try to find a new motor for it. But it uses an XO4 motor, which is very common. So I ordered some off of eBay. They'll arrive in a month. But what I'm really hoping is tomorrow at the train show somebody has one, or they have a junker engine I can take one from. So I'd really love to get that engine going again. It was clearly somebody's mantelpiece at some point because there's paint all over the wheels. I don't think it was ever actually used. Are you going to make a video about that engine? I've already started filming it. I just wasn't expecting the motor to be kaput because it was turning over in the beginning of the video, but it was getting stuck because it couldn't pick up power properly. And then a bit of smoke came out of it, but I just thought that's paint burning on the commutator. No, it was actually the very end of those coils. So yeah, that was it. I tried to check the coils for continuity, and 2 of them were dead. So that was unfortunate. Now, I said I was going to run the Intercity 125. We'll get that out. When will the next fan mail unboxing be? I don't know. I would like to do one soon because a lot of stuff has arrived recently, so there's definitely some stuff to open it up. Just need to set some time aside. Those videos usually end up taking quite a while to film. I'm about an hour from Lagrange, going to my model railway layout around that town. Will you make a video about this train show? Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been to this show a couple times before, so I don't see why not. What videos take the longest to film? Number 1 is probably buying shady model trains on eBay, just because I have to film, you know, the actual hunt on eBay, and that actually requires filming too, because I have to have 2 cameras going. So those have to be overlaid, so the editing takes a while. But then, of course, there's also an unboxing included with that. The easiest ones are probably the restoration videos. Those, you know, I just set up a camera and I kind of just narrate whatever I'm doing. I mean, they can become challenging just because of the locomotives themselves, but in terms of filming and editing, they're usually not that bad. We're going to run an Amtrak F unit with the go-cars. I don't actually know if I have an Amtrak F unit. I've got an Amtrak FP40. See if I can find that. I thought it was on this shelf, but it might have been on... Yeah, here it is. How do you advise setting up a layout for those of us that don't have much cash to spare? There are ways you can build a layout cheaper. Number 1, I would say, is just buying things used, because you can get, if you try to buy everything new, it is gonna cost a lot more. So you can usually, if you keep your eyes out open enough, you know, check Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes you'll find somebody who's giving away a layout, you know, they're selling it for like 50 bucks, and that will be way cheaper than trying to set it up. So if you want to get into model railroading on a budget, that's probably the best way to see if you can kind of try to take over something that's already in existence. If not, just buying track and stuff used is a great way to save cash. It's not running well. I think there might be another one of these in storage by Lifelike. I'll see if I can find that. But yeah, you can build a layout cheap. Like this layout right here. This was added recently, so it doesn't count. But if you kind of mark out this layout cost about $50 to build. And I did it because I used scrap wood, I used cardboard, I used deli paper, I used brass track. I just didn't have the funds to build this thing. So yeah, it cost like $50. So you definitely can build a layout on a budget if you get creative. Do you have any DCC locomotive with sound units? I've got a few. That locomotive is clearly unhappy. I think it's got a bad gear. I think that might be the problem. I'll just put that up there for now. See, what we got right here is basically the identical locomotive, except the difference is this one's by Lifelike. So I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more success with this one. Can you run a CNF 40ph? Yeah. Yeah, this one doesn't even start either. Oh, come on, Lifelike. Yeah. Yeah, this one kind of runs like crap too. It just needs to break in. Yeah, there we go. It's starting to do a little bit better. The headlight's ridiculously bright. I think that's about to burn out. But hey, it goes to show you, these old Lifelike locomotives usually are just a little bit better than the Bachmans. I wonder if nickel silver wheels from a Bachman would fit on a Lifelike. I think that they probably would. Because they use the same, you know, they use contacts, so it would work. Older Lifelike locomotives actually did use nickel silver wheels. It wasn't until much later that they used brass wheels. The F40s clearly don't want to run. Apparently not. It's really too bad that Lifelike went out of business. I mean, I understand why people didn't like them. They were not building super high quality locomotives, but I wouldn't say that they were any worse than Bachman. So yeah, it's unfortunate that they didn't stick around. I think that Lifelike could have had a very promising history with, you know, where they were going with Proto 2000 locomotives. I mean, those were pretty decent engines, especially in their time, so. This thing is still running well. Well, now we'll see if we can get the two CNF units out, which basically have the same drive. One of them's in really bad shape, though, so. I don't know. Try to run these things together. Lifelike got bought out by Walters. I believe they still make Proto 1000 and 2000. They do, but I mean, it's a little bit different than Lifelike. These have not been run for a while, so I'm not really surprised they're having issues. We'll see if they'll start here. Yeah, there we go. How often do you clean your track? I'd say about once a month. A while ago, you got an old F unit that had a double axle bogie in the front, a triple in the rear. This was rear house, very heavy steam generator, diesel, kind of cool. Huh, I don't remember that one. Maybe it was one of my N-scale engines. Classic sound of squeaky lifelike locomotives. Yeah, they always have that distinctive sound. You're gonna do another video building that layout? Absolutely, I just need to buy some supplies. I'm disappointed that Pemco went out of business. Yeah, it's too bad. It seems like they were making decent products. I'm not sure if it was you who was telling me about this, but somebody was explaining to me that Pemco is basically a ripoff of Tyco, where people who were working at Tyco basically pulled like a mutiny on the company and decided to go start Pemco, and then were sued by Tyco, and that put them out of business. I don't know if that story is true or not, but if it is, that's pretty wild. But it is unfortunate. I mean, Pemco engines, they were by no means high quality. They were very similar to Lifelike and Tyco and Bachmann of their era. Their detail was slightly better, though. Can you do another video where you put the camera on your trains and run around the various sets so we can get the train's perspective? Oh, put a camera on the train. Yeah, I haven't done one of those in a while. I'll have to see if my GoPro is still working, and we'll try to do some sort of a layout tour. Aloha from Hawaii. Welcome. Any love for American Flyer old S-gauge locomotives? I've never worked with any, but I'm kind of curious about them. There's a guy in the area, he's selling a whole bunch of S-gauge stuff. A little overpriced in my opinion, although I don't exactly know what they're worth, and I'm kind of tempted by it, but at the same time too, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of out of space here, so I'm not sure if I should go down that rabbit hole or not. Do you ever consider 3D printing trains? I've had that suggestion before. I'm on the market for a 3D printer, but I don't really know what to get. I feel like there's something I was supposed to run that I'm forgetting. I just can't figure out what it is. How do you make a good layout? Well, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those kind of art is in the eye of the beholder. Like, I love my layout. It's exactly what I want it to be, and I'm going to continue to work on it to make better. But it's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that would look at a layout like this, and they would say, you know, it's unrealistic to run track through a mountain for no reason 2 times, and the mountains look different, and some are made out of cardboard and stuff. So it's by no means realistic, but, you know, it's your layout, right? You know, if you want to build it the way you want, there's nothing wrong with that. Would you ever want to own your own model train store? I've thought about it before. I feel like there could be some advantages to it because I feel like I already have an idea of, you know, what things are worth, and I don't know. I feel like I could build an interesting kind of train store, but I just don't know. I did say I was going to run the Wakefield train earlier. Maybe we should take that out on the main line. Tourist railway. If you want a resin printer, get some type of Creality printer. I'll have to do some research. If people have a suggestion on a good 3D printer they have, feel free to send it along. I'm all ears. But yeah, I just don't know which one to buy. Favorite modern model train you have? Probably my new BNSF Mac locomotive. Opinions on older Fleshman locomotives. I don't know much about them. I own a couple, none in working order though, so not super familiar with them. I like American Flyer HO locomotives. They run pretty good. I've had a few, yeah, and they've all been decent. I don't know why this thing just came to a stop. How's the new layout going? There hasn't been any progress, but I was saying earlier on in the stream that I'm looking to buy some switches and other parts for this layout. Tomorrow there's going to be a huge train show in Ottawa. It's called the Oviaire Flea Market. That's usually where the deals are at. So I'm going to go there with a ton of cash and see what I can buy. I might even put together kind of a shopping list to make sure I find what I'm looking for. And hopefully that will go well and we can get that project back underway. How old is Nerf Cat? I don't exactly know. I'm guessing around 15, but I have no way of knowing. TB Tech says, I have an Annette A8 filament printer. It was only $140. It's okay, but not the greatest. Creality Ender is a slightly better printer for a little more money. Well, if it's worth, you know, getting higher quality products, I'm willing to spend a little more on a 3D printer. Controller Packers, you should get Nerf Cat a feeding station whenever Nerf Cat comes up to the layout. Gotta feed the giant or he's gonna destroy it. That would be pretty funny. Lately I've been having a lot of problems with him climbing up on the layout though, because he discovered that he could jump up on that part, so he keeps jumping up, and I don't know why he likes doing this, but for some reason he keeps chewing on the end of this thing. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a weird problem. SMT, are you thinking about getting some Australian carriages and freight wagons? More or less rolling stock? Maybe a little bit. What I really want to buy more of are Australian locomotives. I'm not sure which to get, but I'm keeping my eyes open on eBay. Next time something comes up at a decent price, I'll snap it up and add it to the collection. I've actually got 2 more V-line locomotives from Trying, which I've been meaning to unbox for a while now. Please read this comment. SMT, if you can run your best Santa Fe locomotive, that's my favorite railroad. I think I've already got it on. It's this metal train. This thing is pretty solid, super smooth. You're in the spirit of 76. Yeah. Favorite locomotive manufacturer? I don't know. It's hard to choose because all have their benefits and disadvantages. Maybe Caddo or Athearn. I really like Rapido's stuff. It's a little more expensive, I find, but they make pretty nice engines. If you decide to run a store, there are other hobbies too. RC cars with space inside or outside to run. Maybe a competition for RC planes or cars and drones. Or maybe become partners with somebody who has expertise in other hobbies. That would probably be a better idea because I don't really know anything about RC cars or model airplanes and don't have a crazy amount of interest in those. So would be better off having somebody who actually knows a thing or two. But yeah, I agree. I think a hobby shop selling more than model trains is a good idea. Hobby House in Ottawa actually did very well during 2020 because everybody was, you know, inside looking for things to do. But the majority of their sales were not through model trains. They were selling way more in the way of puzzles and all sorts of other hobby products. Although the guys up at Larkspur Line Train Store were saying that 2020 was like a godsend for business, that they were selling more than ever. But the difference there is that they were selling online, so it probably helps them. Oh, the power torque started. That's good. My mother loves the Spirit of 76 stuff, and when I saw the Spirit of 76 at Main Model Works, I didn't buy it because it didn't work. I am no model train mechanic. Well, if you ever decide to buy one, try to find the Mantua Tychos, because even though those, you know, can be prone to failure too, they're way better than these older power torque models. I'll tell you how to spot a power torque. If you see gears on the bottom, you know it's a power torque. Not good locomotives. They look beautiful. I love the paint schemes that Tyco was coming out with, but in terms of reliability, power torques are not good. Run a long F7. Oh yeah, the Super Chief. I have a Pennsylvania locomotive, smoke engine cab. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Do you have any butt RDCs? Yep. The Super Chief. That's the most Super Chief I think that ever was. Alrighty. Now there is a catch. I can't actually run this thing all the way around the layout because unfortunately it can't handle the curves yet. Still kind of an interesting locomotive. Cool locomotive, thanks. The Ultra Chief, that's kind of a nice name. I SMT, what's the name of your model railroad club? I think it's just called SMT's Model Railroad Club. Yep, SMT Model Railroad Club. I have to get this building wired up. It's mighty cool. Do you have any Bachmann Easy app locomotives? Nope. I don't even know if they would work with this layout or not. Wow, that locomotive needs 100 radius curves. Neither needs 100 radius curves, or I need to get a little bit more creative so that I can handle these curves. It might seem impossible, but let me see if I can find the example. Hold on a moment here. Yeah. It is possible to have a powered truck that turns 180 degrees, because these old AHMs, they're supposed to have a screw here, but when you remove it, the trucks can just kind of pivot around like that. So I just need to find a junker engine kind of like this, steal the drive out of it, and then put it inside the Super Chief. And in the front truck, I just need to remove some of the ladders, and then I think if the trucks can pivot 180 degrees, it should be enough for it to go around some of these corners. I don't know if that's going to work, but I think it's possible. I don't know. I just think it'd be hilarious to see everybody's reaction if I was actually able to run that around the layout at clubs and at train shows and stuff. It always catches people off guard. They think it's a ABA set, and instead it's just one locomotive. Can you agree with me about the fact that the Rivarossi Docksiders are snarky little machines? Well, it takes a lot to break them. I think this is a Rivarossi Dockside. I bet it will start right up. Actually, this one's a Mantua Tyco, but I'm just going to pretend it's a Rivarossi for our purposes here. Howdy, Harrison from West Fargo, ND. My any cubic mono square foot has been perfect. I paid $90 shipped last August. Big sale. Haven't shipped the tender yet. Working on something to ship it with you. Alrighty. Does the trolley on the layout work? The line is not wired up right now, but yeah, the trolley itself does run. Do you have any locomotives from Mexico? Yeah, let's see if we can run it. I think I have at least one. I don't know where it's at right now, but let's go for a look. Don't think it's on any of the higher shelves. Although I don't see it on the bottom either. Could be back here somewhere. Let's take that down. Found it. It's all the way down here. I don't know if this is gonna start. I found this at a train show for, it was like $10 or something like that, and it's an old Proto 1000 locomotive. Anyways, the gears cracked and the original owner decided just to pull them out instead of trying to mend them. So now I've got this locomotive which is down a few gears, which causes some funky things to happen, but well, it started. That's a good beginning. I think it derailed. Yeah, it's derailed again. See, it's derailing somewhere around here, and then I think that switch keeps re-railing it. Yeah, it's derailing right there, but I don't know why it would be doing that. That's a pretty good section of track. Wouldn't be surprised if this locomotive maybe has wheels out of gauge. There's Nerf Cat like belly rubs. Oh yeah, Nerf Cat's a real sucker for the scratches. His favorite thing's the scratchings behind the ears, though. Well, I think I'm going to end the live stream off soon because we're approaching 11 o'clock. But if there's any other things people want to see run, let me know. Still got like 10 minutes. I suspect my phone's running low on battery because we've been streaming for over 2 hours. But yeah, I'm willing to run a couple more trains. How are things going with the Hershey factory? Not too bad. I haven't made any progress on it. I mean, my attention's been a little bit divided at the moment, but I'm aiming for that goal. I want to have this thing done June 16th. If I miss that goal, I'm not going to be happy with myself. I mean, originally I was supposed to get it done in 2021. Missed that deadline. Too much was happening, but I think this time it's possible because it's not that far away. Milwaukee Road E-Unit. I don't know if I have one of those. Can you run an L&N locomotive? Those are my favorite. You know, I got this really junky L&N locomotive a few years ago, which was unsavable. I don't know if I even still have it, but let's see if I can dig that out of storage. It's not on this layer. Not sure where it's at. I think it was an RS3. I'm not seeing it. It must be on a different shelf. Do you still have the stubby caboose? Yeah, I do somewhere. I did something with that the other day. I thought I moved it. Yeah, here it is. Absolutely ridiculous. I love things like that, but I honestly wonder what the thought process is when people put that kind of stuff together. It's so funny when you're digging through boxes of old model trains and you just run across something like that. No, you never know. Maybe whoever made that was part of a train club and they thought it would be a funny joke just to have something like that, put it on the layout just to mess with people. I'm not seeing that L&N engine, unfortunately. I definitely have more than one, though. I just don't know where the others are at. Royal Hudson, please. I could run that. I would like to find that L&N locomotive. I don't remember getting rid of it. Yeah, I don't know where that thing's at. Anyways, we'll run the Royal Hudson. I thought you used to have Amtrak F units, or were the E units? Yeah, I have a couple of Amtrak E8s. I have two of them. I think one of them's by Model Power, and the other one is Proto. I believe the Proto one was the one that actually had a spider egg inside the motor. Somebody sent that thing to me as a gift, and they were like, hey, I've had this engine for years. It stopped running one day. It's junked, but, you know, here it is. If you want to try to get it going again, be my guest. So I cracked that engine open. No idea why it didn't run, and it turned out that at some point, a spider had actually crawled inside the motor, and it had laid an egg right over the commutator and then left. Anyways, the previous owner tried to run the locomotive, and the spider egg had got kind of tangled, so it blocked the brushes and actually prevented the locomotive from running. One of the weirdest cases of failure I've ever seen on an engine. This has got to be one of the slowest locomotives I have. That's at 50% throttle right there, and it's just creeping along. Run something on the N scale layout. Yeah, we've still got 5 minutes, so why not? Just to be clear, I don't actually know if any of this stuff is going to work, but we'll try it out anyways. I would run the O scale layout too, but unfortunately this new shelf I've added on blocks it. Trying to electrocute myself here. Okay, I'm putting power on the track, and there we go. Got a Santa Fe locomotive. This layout is in such desperate need of a rebuild, it's not even funny. Okay, so N scale layout, not doing so well. Let's give it one more chance here. I could try putting on two N scale engines, and maybe between the two of them they'll keep each other running. We'll find something that looks kind of reliable. I don't know what this is, but we'll try it. Wow, it didn't make much of a difference. So mesmerizing. Well, let's see if I can find a third locomotive to add on to this catastrophe. Well, this is a Bachmann locomotive, but yeah, it's running the wrong direction. If I recall correctly, this was actually a decent one. Your N-scale layout is running on around 1 horsepower. Yeah, if that, I would say it's probably like a -1 at this point. Well, there's something wrong with this engine too. The lights are on, it's not even running. I wonder where that E8 I bought a couple months ago is at. We've got some choices. I don't have a very good understanding of what runs these days on here and what doesn't. Something that's nice about the HO scale locomotives is they're being circulated often enough that I have a bit of a better idea of what will actually start. I feel like this one might. Oh yeah, I got a good feeling about this one. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Now we're cooking. Maybe not so much. Now that one starts if the motor doesn't fire up. Sweet collection. These things are so bad. You know, I bet probably cleaning the track would fix this problem, but I'm more inclined just to keep messing around with these engines until something exciting happens. Yeah, here we go. All right, now we got the gang going. Definitely need to do a restoration video on this layout. Yeah, I'd say so. It's not so bad once you get these things running, though. I don't know if the electricity burns off whatever is on the track, but I find once you get stuff moving, I mean, look at this. We can almost creep now. That'll be another thing I'd love to find at the train show. See if they've got some old N-scale locomotives. Because those are usually being sold real cheap at train shows. And the thing I love about collecting N-scale over HO is that it takes up virtually no space. You could buy like 1 million N-scale locomotives and you have one Tupperware bin and you'll pretty much handle them all. I'll just go around for one more loop and then we'll pack that away for the night. Yeah, I love how kind of tinny the N-scale engines sound. It's like a bunch of mosquitoes flying around. Well, looks like we got another short circuit. Well, anyways, it's about 11 o'clock, so I think I will finish off the live stream. But I want to thank you all so much for joining in this evening. I've had a lot of fun running trains and chatting with all of you, and I hope you've all enjoyed as well. So anyways, I think with that, I'll finish things off. Have a terrific night, everyone.